Hello, everyone, and welcome into a special program here on WVUA 23. I'm Mike Royer, and here today with the mayor of Northport, Bobby Herndon. Bobby, it's good to see you.
My pleasure, Mike.
I've looked forward to this because usually when I interview you or one of our reporters interviews you, we ask you a question, you talk for a minute, and we use about 30 seconds of it. We never really have time just to talk in general, so thanks for taking the time to join us today.
I'm honored.
We're at the Thanksgiving season, Christmas not so much around the corner. We're asking folks, and let's start with this. Maybe I'll end with it too. What are you thankful for this time of year and all times of year?
I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for the country that I live in, even though sometimes I question what all is going on, but I'm still thankful that I'm an American citizen.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for my Christianity, for my belief in God. I'm thankful for the fine citizens of the great city of Northport, the staff that I have there, the council people. Of course, I'm a businessman. I'm thankful that my business has made it through another year.
Yeah.
Always thankful for that, and but just many things.
You have a surveying company. That's what you do, correct?
Land surveying.
Land surveying. Were you interested in that growing up, or did you get a job helping someone else survey and got interested? How did you get into that field?
Well, I graduated high school in 1971, and I went to work the next day after graduation and worked 3 or 4 months. But then we were too poor to even think about going to college.
It wasn't going to happen.
It wasn't going to happen. So in January of '72, a friend called up and said, I started work as a land surveying company, and they need help. And so that was 50 years ago. Well, people say, well, how can you be a businessman, a successful businessman, be a mayor of a city and not have a college education? And I said, well, I just learned all mine the hard way, but I did pick up several PhDs along the way. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, my PhD stands for post hole digger.
Yep, whatever it took.
And I just learned from experience, and grateful for it.
I know nothing about surveying, but when I see guys out with what looks like a camera, and I know it's not a camera, and another guy standing down there with a pole, were you holding that pole when you first started out?
I was holding a pole, pulling a chain, cutting bushes, fighting snakes,
whatever it
took.
But something about it interested you, and you thought, I'm going to learn this and how to do it well, and then have your own company eventually.
Well, I got my land surveyor's license in 1983. Started a company, and 38 years later, we're still here and working projects all across the Southeast and doing good.
On the surface, it would sound like maybe COVID didn't affect you as much as restaurants and other businesses with a lot of people traffic, but did it affect your work some?
It affected my work due to employees having COVID.
Yeah.
We had plenty of work, just didn't have the personnel to get to all of them, but thankfully everybody came back, and nobody took off to get the COVID relief money. They all came back to work and want to just keep pushing.
That reminds me of what we're most thankful for. You and your wife came back from COVID. You both had it and didn't just have mild symptoms. You both got pretty sick.
Well, Kay, her birthday's New Year's Eve, but the next day, this past January 1st, she went in the hospital. It was the worst time, just the isolation. You know, she'd call me with FaceTime, she'd be crying.
Yeah.
She had the very bad bilateral pneumonia. She got out, and 2 days later, I wasn't feeling good. I went in, and I had the COVID blood clots. I didn't have hardly any pneumonia. It was the blood clots. I had a massive one in my right lung, 3 in my left leg. Had to take all the shots in the stomach and the different things. And
blood clots are dangerous.
They are.
I mean, if they move a little bit and get to your brain, that would be looking for a new mayor today.
Well, I don't think anything could affect my brain too much. But it's just, the doctors and the nurses, the DCH health system, prayers from friends and family. It's just, we came out good. I got off my blood thinners 6 months ago. I had to take blood thinners for 6 months. Kay got off her oxygen. She had to be on oxygen at night. She got off about 2 months ago. That's since January.
Well, you know, what a long haul that has been for both of you.
But but I've had friends, Mike, that didn't make it home.
Yeah, I know.
And so very grateful.
Tell me about, not the history of Bobby Herndon, but where were you raised? Did your dad teach you the values you have about service, patriotism, love of country, and hard work, obviously? Where did you get that? Where'd that come from?
Well, yes to all. My dad and mother, we had a gospel singing group. And
Really?
so I never have been nervous speaking in front of crowds because I've sang in front of crowds since I was 12 years old.
And still do.
So I still love to sing. But my dad was a patriot. He instilled in us values, manners. People say, well, you know, that's how I was reared. Well, if I didn't say yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, I found myself on my rear because my dad would put me there.
Yeah.
But yeah, great folks. They're both gone now. But they instilled in my brother and my sister and I a heart of giving, of putting others first, being there when you can be there to help people.
Lost my dad not long ago, and now both of my parents are gone. Someone said at my mother's funeral that this will get better in time. I know they intended well, but losing your parents, it never gets better in time. You just deal with it and do what they would want you to do, and that's put one foot in front of the other.
Well, you know, I miss them every day. I tell folks, I think my dad whipped me. We didn't call it spankings back then. He whipped me when I really didn't deserve it. But if he was here today, I would tell him thank you for the whipping I got.
You know, people don't spank like they used to or punish like they used to, and I'm sure people much smarter than me can argue it. But well, I learned some valuable lessons on maybe how to avoid getting a good spanking.
Oh yeah,
so.
and I hated whippings from my dad, but my mother would get the switch, and that would
Just as bad or worse?
That's just bad. But it's yeah, I miss them, but they did instill in my brother, my sister, myself values that I will always cherish.
Where were you raised?
I was raised in Rosedale area of Tuscaloosa.
Okay, so you're home.
Home. We in fact, when the tornado came in 2011. I spent most of my time in Rosedale helping clean up and stuff. But yeah, we were raised in Rosedale.
Siblings?
Got a sister Marie, she's 2 years younger, and a brother Scott, who's 7 years younger. And he was the baby of the family. He always got special treatment.
Of course you
being
did. Of course
the
you
baby
did.
of the family.
Everybody knows that.
But we talk just about every day. Marie lives in Hammond, Louisiana, and my brother Scott lives in Northport. And good folks.
And you have children of your own. You and your wife have.
Well, Kay and I, next week we'll be married 15 years.
Good for you.
We've got, together we have 5 children.
Yeah.
I had 3 by my late wife. She got 2 by her late husband. We have 5 grandchildren and a great nephew that's staying with us right now.
Are those grandchildren all close enough where you can get your hands on them now and then and see them pretty often, or are they kind of scattered around?
Well, my 21-year-old lives with me, Sydney. She's my right hand.
Yeah.
She works 3 jobs and goes to college.
Wow, good for
And
her.
I have a granddaughter lives in Birmingham, 2 that live in Jasper, Tennessee, and a grandson that lives in Douglasville, Georgia.
As we continue talking to you, I told you beforehand I wanted to know a little bit more about you personally because I never get to talk to you for long. During this half hour today, I want to talk more about the service you do when you hear of a tornado or a hurricane. Many of us hear about a hurricane south of us and go, boy, it's a shame. Well, let's put them on our prayer list. I think you're a praying man too,
Right.
but you do more than that. You go and help. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, I want you to explain the genesis of that, how you got started, and why you keep doing it, because I know it's important to you and helpful to a lot of folks. Let's take a break. We're going to come back and spend this entire 30 minutes with Bobby Herndon, the mayor of Northport. And Northport, folks, we are going to talk about Northport a little bit later on. We'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back to our visit with the mayor of Northport, Bobby Herndon. In our first segment, we just got to know a little bit more about him. Whenever there's a tornado in our area or a hurricane south of us, especially west of us, in an area that Bobby cares a lot about in Louisiana, he always fills up trailers, puts out the word to people when he's going to go, and he pulls his truck and a trailer, and other people go along too, and he takes relief supplies to people. When did you start doing that?
As I mentioned in an earlier segment, the tornado in Tuscaloosa in 2011 affected me greatly. Seeing people from all across the country with an outpouring of love, of support, coming to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Northport was spared, but we had all of our forces over in Tuscaloosa helping. But to see the reaction of people from other communities wanting to help Tuscaloosa, and I just made a vow to myself that if ever given the opportunity, I was going to do the same. Well, 10 years later, in about 10 to 12 cities later, we've been to Reeves, Louisiana. We've been to Killian, Louisiana. We've been to Hammond and Ponchatoula, Louisiana. Panama City, Florida. We've been to Fultondale. We've been to Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Bon Secours. We've been to the last one in Bibb County. I hit Bibb County and Perry County and parts of Greene County. We relief supplies. The last one we went to was in Hammond, Louisiana, Hammond, Ponchatoula, and it was just unbelievable, Mike. I ended up carrying a total of 6 of the largest U-Haul trucks, plus 4 of the largest U-Haul trailers. I made a total of 4 trips down there. I got a letter from the mayor of Hammond, Louisiana, week before last, thanking us for everything, that they were able to take care of 500 families with the supplies that we carried. We carried 4,000 pounds of ice. I'm sorry, we carried 4 tons of ice, which have been 8,000 pounds.
You had refrigerated trucks
well,
for that, or just pack them in?
We had an ice plant in Northport that donated the ice. They had some kind of coolers that they would seal up, have hot ice in there, and we would put them on the U-Haul trailers. We went down there, and the people working on the power lines had no water, had no ice, so we were giving out ice and water to the linemen that were working to try to get power back. We took ice to the Ponchatoula Police Department, to the Hammond Police Department. We carried supplies to the city of Hammond and to the city of Ponchatoula, and it's just awesome.
Is it because you've been so many times that you've kind of developed relationships, especially of all the places you listed, Louisiana was a lot of them. Is it because you've been there so much that you've kind of developed a relationship there?
My sister Marie that I mentioned a while, she lives in Louisiana. She lives in Hammond, and they got the worst part of the storm this last time, but she knows people everywhere. And she got me in touch with the governor's office. The governor's office of Louisiana called me about Killian, Louisiana. This had been 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm going to tell a story, if I may.
Yep.
My son and I loaded up the 2 large U-Haul trucks. The governor said it was an isolated place in Killian, cut off by water. The last 5 or 6 miles we drove through a foot deep of water on major highways, getting to it. So we get to Killian, Louisiana. They have a big community center. Had the National Guard there, people out there just needing anything and everything. And we pulled up. The National Guard was sort of keeping them off of us while we unloaded the trucks, had a bunch of volunteers. And I was standing there, and a couple of National Guardsmen come up to me, and they said, "We know you." I said, "What do you mean you know me?" They said, "You ever go to a restaurant in Tuscaloosa called Mug Shots?" I said, "Yeah."
I sure did.
They said, "You'll see our picture on the wall." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Y'all had a tornado in 2011. We were there."
What do you know?
And I did the manly thing. I started crying.
But that touches home.
Because here I was helping them, and here they were up there helping us. I'll never forget that.
Yep.
And then 2 years ago, we went to Reeves, Louisiana, north of Lake Charles, where they had some bad damage. Reeves was cut off from everything. They're going to be without power for 30 days. And we had 3 big trucks that we carried down there. It was a long trip, but well worth it. And then this last time at Louisiana was a Hammond and Ponchatoula. So
I kind of touched on it earlier, but often I'll hear people say, or I'll see them post on social media, our thoughts and prayers are with those people. Those are good intentions, and we need to keep them in our thoughts and have prayers. But once in a while, we need to get our feet on the ground and organize and physically go help them with things the way that you do.
well, and everybody is always very thankful. We go down there, we help them unload, we fellowship for a few minutes, and
Yeah.
then we have prayer with them, and then we head out.
And the folks here are generous. When you put the word out that you're going somewhere, you do that mostly on Facebook and
Right.
Northport social media. Is that what you do mostly?
And of course you guys help me out as far as advertisement and different radio stations and other things, but it gets better and better. I've had people from Fayette, I've had people from Linden, I've had people from Birmingham, all over the place bringing items because they didn't have a way to get them there, but their heart said we need to do something, and I was able to help them out.
How do you get volunteers to go? Do some of your workers do it, or just friends you know, people who have the same heart for this kind of thing you do?
Well, my sons and my granddaughter Sydney that I mentioned earlier,
they're all involved.
she helps me get everything loaded up, everything organized. Then I have some regular guys that just say, hey, we're going to go down there and help drive and help unload.
Good.
And so it's anytime anybody wants to go, if we do have to do it again, I hope we never have any more disasters.
But you know we will.
But if we do, if you want to volunteer, if you want a blessing,
Yeah,
come
absolutely.
on, and you get a free meal.
There you go. You can't beat that. You get to hang out with Bobby Herndon for a few days.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to take one more break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about the city of Northport. Bobby, as the mayor there, works hard, loves his city, and we'll talk about challenges and what the future holds for our neighbor across the river. We'll be right back. Welcome back into our special program with Bobby Herndon. Bobby, of course, as you know, is the mayor of Northport, the neighboring city to Tuscaloosa, and a partner with the city of Tuscaloosa, too. And we're glad you could join us today, Bobby. Thanks for being here.
I'm happy to.
We've talked about you, and we've talked about volunteer work during disasters, but we've yet to talk much about Northport. You've been the mayor how many years? I know you served for a while, was out for 4 years, and then back. How many total years have you served as mayor?
From 08 to 16, and then re-elected in 20. So I finished up my 9th year right now.
I know I think you'll take this the way I mean it. You're not much of a politician, and you're kind of proud of that, aren't you? You're just not really a politician.
I am a lowly land surveyor that just wants to help my city.
Yeah,
And that's it.
yeah.
No further political aspirations. You know, I would like to be a TV broadcaster or something like that, but no politician.
Sure. But yet you love providing leadership and making your city better. And Northport is growing pretty fast. In fact, I think faster than a lot of cities. I know you're proud of what your city has now, but you're excited about the future too.
Well, we've got, it's been well publicized, Northport went from the 21st largest city in the state to the 17th largest city in the state in this last census. We grew 33% in that 10 years. On the books right now, in the planning stages, in conceptual plans, whatever, we've got over 1,000 new home lots that are about to be going on the market in the next 2 to 3 years.
That is all good news, but for you and your council, it also presents challenges. You've got to accommodate them with water, sewer, all of that. It also means more taxes from homeowners on new homes, but what are some of the biggest challenges you and your city faces going forward as you grow, and that is good news?
Well, like you mentioned, water and sewer expansion. I went and met with Coach Tuberville 3 weeks ago, and he's looking at what he can do to help our city. But yeah, the Northport for so long has lagged behind as far as expansion of services. So we are behind the 8 ball on that some. We've got a tremendous staff, some new faces been added to our staff in the last several months that are doing an awesome job, and I can see great things as far as pushing these water and sewer issues ahead. Of course, we've been dealing with, as Tuscaloosa did back in June with the flooding, the 10 inches of rain we had in 2 hours.
It was called once a century type flood.
There's there's no drainage system anywhere that would handle that much runoff. But we are working with the federal government as far as looking at how we can dredge out some of the creeks, the ditches. We've got in this next council meeting, which will be December 13th, we'll be approving $625,000 to use toward drainage studies, drainage repairs, to just see what we can do.
And some people might go, gee, that's a lot of money to spend just to study something, just fix it. But you can waste a lot of money fixing something if you don't know what you're doing and you don't attack the problem correctly, right? It's money that's got to be spent to do it right.
We don't want to do a knee-jerk reaction. You know, we might go in there and raise a bridge up a little bit, or we might expand a culvert size a little bit, but it might not be what the study recommends, and it still might be too small. So
twice I went over to Northport behind the new car wash. What's that subdivision called back in there? The new car wash that's up on the hill. I can't think of the street right now, and I'm sorry to pull that on you. But
we've got Kirkwood Drive that
that's
goes
it.
through Kirkwood
That's
Drive.
the one I'm talking about. If that area, no matter what you do, gets 10 inches of rain in 3 or 4 hours, no one can be prepared for that.
No.
You just cannot go, well, that's no problem, we'll handle it.
Can't do it.
That's crazy.
But there are some things that we can do that the city of Northport's working on. Get the study in, make the repairs, keep going.
I've worked here at the university for 5 years. I don't keep track actually, but it seems like every other person I talk to that works here, I'll go, now where do you live? And it seems like half the time at least, I go, oh, I work here in Tuscaloosa at the university, or I work downtown, I work for wherever, but I live in Northport. A lot of people choose to live in Northport. What's the attraction? What would you pitch to somebody moving to the area that they ought to look at Northport?
Still a small town feel. Our historic downtown area is well advertised across the country.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of folks say, well, maybe it's just a good-looking mayor, and that's why so many people.
Yeah,
but
that's
I
it.
can't say that.
That's it.
But you know, but we have. It's just a lot to offer. It's a big city atmosphere with small town feel, and but we are rapidly growing, and right now 17th largest city.
Your police chief got a good handle on safety. We don't hear a lot of crimes over in Northport. Some happen. They happen in the smallest town in the state. But is your law enforcement safety people on top of things?
We have great first responders, police, fire. Right now, Northport's ranked the 16th safest city in the state. But we have great police and fire. We do.
You going to be mayor for a long time, or as long as you're healthy, you're going to continue to serve? What's your thinking?
Well, right now we're starting really our first year of our 4-year term.
Yeah.
Because the legislature voted something, and we got a 5-year term this time. We just finished up our first year, so I got 4 more years. You know, I'll be 73. It depends. If I think I'm doing something to help our city, I'll run again.
I tried retiring once, and I don't recommend it to you unless you've really got lots to do. I'm a year ahead of you in age. I figure if I work till I'm 74 and you're mayor till you're 73, we could have a retirement party together.
Hey, that sounds great.
And then go sit on a porch somewhere and smoke cigars.
Well, we can do that, or we might just think about retiring and just say, nah, we're just gonna keep on going.
You know, I had to wait for my mother to pass away to smoke cigars in public. She'd still come back and fuss at me if she ever saw me with a cigar.
I hear you. I hear you.
Bobby, I've enjoyed visiting with you, and we appreciate the cooperation we get from you. You know we call you on good news stories, but if there's a bad news story, we call you, and you cooperate with us on both.
Sure.
And we appreciate the relationship we've got with you.
Well,
so thank you.
You guys are awesome.
Well, thank you. Bobby Herndon, Mayor of Northport, and a special guest on this special program here on WVUA Television. Thanks to him and the folks of Northport for doing such a good job and having such a good city. I'm Mike Royer. Thanks very much for watching our program today. Be safe, and thanks again for watching.